everyone, this is Anna from Savvy Cat Realty, and today I'm here to talk to you about rental scams. So for those of you who don't know, Savvy Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agency that helps expats relocate to Portugal in a sustainable way. We work with both rentals and purchases and hope to help you find the right location and the right property for your own personal lifestyle here in Portugal. We are a team of locals that will help you find the right match in the whole continental Portugal so you can end up making a smooth and safe relocation and in the right place at the right time or in the first attempt. So today's topic is rental scams because recently we came across our first-hand, very traumatized landlords, and of course in Lisbon. But either way, I was looking up numbers and it turns out that rental scams or declared frauds or complaints about rental frauds made to the police have increased 3 times in the past 3 years. So in 2019, we had about 500 complaints, and in 2020 and 2022 especially, we have over 1,500 complaints, and 2023 again over 1,500 complaints with even higher amounts of money. So back in 2019, they were estimating about 750,000 in losses. Well, nowadays in 2023, which are the most recent numbers I found, we are talking about 2 million in losses. So be very, very careful if you are renting. And this, of course, becomes an even bigger problem. And an easier target are, of course, foreigners, because they are often not here. They often do the whole process digitally. So be very, very careful. And today I'm going to tell you about a few versions of scams I've read and heard about, and also what you can do to avoid falling into those scams. So the first one, that is one of the most known, and it is to ask for money to see the property without actually going to see the property first. This is a huge red flag. Never do this. And I actually have seen legit companies doing this, which I find appalling, to be honest. This is not acceptable practice at all. And the justification is always that there is a huge amount of demand in the market, which is true. And they try to do this to kind of screen the interest of potential renters, tenants, but never ever do this, no matter the company. This is never give any money, never sign any transference without having an actual document that documents this transaction. It can be just a promise or a reserve. As long as the reserve is signed by both parties, that can be okay. But ideally, of course, a rental contract. And in order to sign that rental contract, there's of course a number of things you should verify too. So, second most common scam, and that is there is now a common scam going around that these scammers will rent Airbnbs and show them to people. These Airbnbs are of course not theirs. And then they will try to rent these Airbnbs and ask for money once they have, shown the property and people think they are secure. They are not. So the way that you have to avoid falling into this kind of scam is to check the Registo Predial and the matriz, so the official documents of the property, and see if the person signing the contracts and signing the documentation of the person you are talking to does have legal capacity to represent the owner or is actually the owner. So do never sign contracts without looking at these documents. and these documents do need to be listed in the contract for the contract to be valid. So the número de matriz and the Certidão Predial have to be in the contract. So, third scam, and this is the one that our landlord that we came across was traumatized with, and it's a bit problematic for us because we kind of use a similar method. So this scam is basically this fake buyer agents that go show properties, but they say they are the owners instead of the actual owners. So they do video calls and so on, but they just book them for the apartments that they don't own and say they are the owners and then ask for deposits and so on. Once again, never give deposits without signing contracts. And once again, always check the legit ownership of the properties through the official documentation such as Certidão Permanente, Certidão Predial, and Matriz. So, these are the only ways that you will have to avoid these kinds of things. This last scam is kind of problematic for us because a lot of our clients are, of course, not in the country, so it's hard for us to show the properties physically. But thankfully, like this situation, it was the first time we came across a landlord that had a bad experience with this kind of thing before and was not comfortable with doing video visits. We have not come across this before in our 4 years of work. Like I said, I understand where he's coming from, given that this whole scammer situation, but of course we are a legit company, go through lawyers, we'll verify everything for you, and we actually never transfer the money to us. Our rental packages, you pay the package and the agent will do all the contact and visits and show you the locations and recommendations and connect utilities and have a lawyer review the contract and all of that. But the money you pay us is the money of the package. We actually don't get any other money from you. So the deposits and rents and all of that always goes directly to the landlord and never goes through us. So that's another thing to be careful. Is like, unless there's a specific situation in which you are the one requesting the money going through the agency for some reason, I do believe that most agencies will have the money directly transferred to the owners. So do also keep that in mind when you are looking. And now going back into the scams I have heard about talk, this actually goes back into the first one. So the one in which they make excuses to have you pay deposits first. There is this very common scam in which the landlord will list an apartment under the market value and they will have an excuse like they are out of the country and so they can show it to you, but it's such a good price and there's a lot of people interested, so if you want to secure it, you have to close it right away. Don't. Unless they make you a contract and show you, the Certidão Predial, Matriz, and so on, to prove that the property is theirs, and have, if you make a transfer, it is within the rental contract and so on. Never make payments without having documentation. And the rental market is very high on demand. It's a bit nuts. There is so much more demand than offer that, as I said in the beginning, these kind of crimes went up 3 times. So we are currently having over 1,500 people declaring scams to the police. I imagine there's even a lot of people that maybe do not even declare these scams, so the numbers may even be higher. So this is very common, and you have to be very careful, especially if you are outside the country. And I definitely recommend to work with legit agencies and to have someone on your actual side, because the thing with rentals is that generally you are either most cases it's actually the actual owner making the listing. Only in higher value properties it tends to be an agency, if of course the varies, but I would say like at least half of the listings are made directly by the owners. So you do need to have all these extra careful steps to protect yourself, because especially when it comes to foreigners, because there is no security, no financial presence in Portugal, a lot of landlords will ask for a lot of rent in advance, and you can lose a lot of money. Be very, very careful. When it comes to numbers that are actually normal, it is actually only legal to ask for 2 rents plus deposit in Portugal. But the way that people go around this rule is, of course, to ask for more as deposit. So only 2 will be registered as rent, and the rest of the money they ask will be asked as deposit, as the deposit has no legal limit to. It can be as high as the landlords want, which is a bit silly, to be honest, because they kind of reduced the limit on the amount of rents you can ask for from 3 to 2, which makes 0 sense, because it actually takes 3 months of rent to be able to officially denounce a contract. So it makes perfect sense that the rent in advance would be 3. But, oh well. So legal amount is 2 rents plus whatever deposit. It will never be less than 2 rents plus 1 deposit. And generally that deposit will be equivalent to 1 month rent. And it can just go up from there. It's not at all uncommon to see people asking for 6 months in advance, especially for foreigners. I think 6 months is on the linear of acceptable. 1 year in advance is risky. It's risky because if something doesn't go right and you end up not liking the property or having problems and wanting to denounce the contract, then you will have a hard time, because especially if the owner is not particularly honest, you will have a very hard time seeing your money back. And officially, the time to denounce a rental contract is half of the duration of the contract plus 3 months, or a quarter of the duration of the contract plus 3 months. So most contracts are a year, so you basically have officially 6 months until you are able to denounce, or you have to denounce at 3 and give another 3 of warning, which makes 6. And then, of course, if it's longer contracts, that period will increase. So keep all of these things in mind where you are looking at property. The most common listing sites would be Idealista, Imovirtual. A Portuguese one that is often used is Custo Justo, but it's not as well known. But to be fair, the rentals can be in any of them. You really have to do the due diligences on your own, because there is no way that these websites can control these kind of rental situations and the legitimacy of the rentals. But especially in less regulated places like Facebook Marketplace, it is known to be particularly bad. So once again, be very careful when looking for rentals. If you want our help, you can always go to our website in www.savvycatchrealty.com, where you can find our rental packages that you can purchase directly through there. And of course, I hope that all of this was helpful. Do let us know if you heard about any other rental scams lately. I would love to hear the tea on that. And I hope that this was helpful. And I hope to see you all again next week. Bye.